Okay, let's get straight to it. You're here because you want to grasp complex ideas, but, without getting totally bogged down, right?
Exactly. Quickly but thoroughly.
Today, we're diving headfirst into Hermetic philosophy and alchemy. We've got some fascinating material here, excerpts from Mary Anne Atwood,
Really rich stuff.
and our aim is simple. Pull out the crucial insights, try to cut through some of the myths, and really understand the core of this for you.
Yeah, it's about making that connection clear between the Hermetic ideas and the actual practice of alchemy.
So we're kind of on a mission here, to connect the philosophy with the practice in a way that, well, clicks.
Absolutely. Moving beyond just the surface level, illuminating that profound relationship.
Okay, so first things first. A name that keeps popping up is Hermes Trismegistus. He seems pretty central. Who exactly was he?
Well, think of him less as a definite historical person and more as a legendary figure, revered, throughout the ancient world
For what specifically?
for immense wisdom and this supposed deep understanding of nature's secrets. Atwood mentions his attributed discovery. It's the quintessential perfectibility of the three kingdoms.
Three kingdoms: mineral, vegetable, animal.
Exactly, in their fundamental unity. This insight is supposedly what earned him the title Thrice Great Hermes.
Thrice great. That sounds significant.
It does, doesn't it? It suggests this complete grasp of universal laws. A really key idea back then was this unified view of the universe, which, really shaped alchemical thinking.
Right, a unified view. So thrice great definitely carries some weight. What about his writings? What's attributed to him?
Well, unfortunately, a lot of the books supposedly written by him are lost. Clemens Alexandrin has mentioned quite a few.
But they're gone.
Many are, yeah. Atwood notes that actions under the Emperor Diocletian led to a lot of destruction, a real loss.
That is a shame. But some things survived.
Thankfully, yes. We still have some vital works like the Asclepian Dialogues and the Divine Poimander, sometimes called Pomander.
And how did they survive?
They were preserved in Latin by Ficinus, thankfully, and later translated into English by a Dr. Everard, so we have access.
Okay. And what kind of topics do these surviving texts actually cover?
The Pomander and Asclepius, they really delve into what Atwood calls theosophic and ultimate subjects, deep stuff.
Like what?
Like our inherent divine potential, the possibility of spiritual rebirth, big picture spiritual principles, not so much the practical side of things.
Ah, okay. So less about physical transformation.
Right. That contrasts with another key Hermetic text, the Tractatus Aureus, or Golden Treatise, also attributed to Hermes.
And that one's more practical.
Exactly. It gets into the physical ground, the actual methods of alchemy. So you have the Pomander for the spiritual and the Golden Treatise, maybe, for the more hands-on approach.
That distinction makes sense. Now, what about the Emerald Table? It's mentioned as this a really significant artifact.
Yes, the Smaragdine Table, or Emerald Table. It's presented as this unique, really authentic relic from ancient Egypt.
And what's so special about it?
Well, the belief is that in just a few very enigmatic lines, it contains the fundamental working principle and total subject of the art. The whole thing distilled.
The whole of alchemy. In a few lines.
That's the claim. Atwood includes Kircher's Latin translation, which itself came from Arabic and Greek sources. It's seen as pivotal, a concise summary of the entire philosophy.
So this small tablet is supposed to hold the secret to everything.
That's the idea. And Atwood actually expresses regret that this Emerald Table is pretty much all that's left of Egypt's sacred art.
Wow. So much lost.
Yeah. She mentions scattered riddles, fables, hieroglyphics found in later alchemical writings, but the original Egyptian texts themselves, gone.
Which leads to that question about ancient Egypt's reputation.
Exactly. Egypt was renowned. Power, wealth, wisdom, even magic skill, as Atwood puts it, referencing Herodotus. And this was after some major upheavals.
So the question is, were the old stories just hype?
Or do the wonders that still stand hint at a lost science? Maybe vestiges of an intelligence superior to our own? Makes you think.
It really does.
Yeah.
Especially when you consider who went there to learn.
Right. Thinkers like Pythagoras, Thales, Democritus, Plato, they all traveled to Memphis. Spent years seeking initiation into Egyptian wisdom, specifically this mighty art.
What did they learn that we've maybe forgotten?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And it ties into that prophecy Atwood mentions from the Asclepius dialogue.
The one about Egypt's decline.
Yeah, a really powerful lament, loss of reverence, choosing darkness over light, persecuting the devout. and ultimately the desolation of their sacred places.
It sounds pretty bleak.
It's stark and kind of chilling how some of those themes like lost wisdom still resonate today, you know?
Yeah, definitely. Okay, shifting gears a bit.
Hmm.
Besides Hermes, are there other key figures in alchemy we should know about?
Atwood brings up several. There's Rhesus, an Arabian alchemist, apparently even more famous than Geber, publicly, for actually demonstrating transmutation.
Really? Demonstrating it.
So the texts claim extracts of his writings survived, often found in Roger Bacon's works, interestingly.
Okay. Who else?
Then there's the story of Morianus. He was a Roman who went searching for a sage named Adphar in Alexandria, became his student.
And he interacted with royalty.
Yes, later with King Khalid. He even supposedly initiated Khalid and converted him to Christianity. Their dialogue in Khalid's own book, the Liber Secretorum, are mentioned as important texts.
So we see knowledge crossing cultures again. Arabian, Roman.
Yeah, it suggests this widespread interest, this search for transformative knowledge wasn't confined to one place.
Interesting. And there's that poem in the excerpts about who was actually interested in alchemy. It wasn't just scholars, was it?
Not at all. That poem is fascinating. It lists everyone from popes and kings down to merchants and everyday workers.
Like who?
Goldsmiths, brewers, Freemasons, tanners, parish clerks, tailors, glaziers, even tinkers. It really shows the broad appeal.
But maybe for different reasons.
Probably. But the poem also warns, it stresses the intellectual effort needed for this noble craft and the risk of ruin, financially, if you weren't skilled enough.
So not for dabblers.
Exactly. It says someone not learned, a great clerk, would be foolish to even try.
Makes sense. The excerpts also mention, all the failed attempts and the really symbolic language they use.
Oh, absolutely. There's this one alchemist's lament listing all the things he tried. Spirits, ferments, salts, urine and steel. Trying to make the philosopher's stone.
And no luck.
Nope. Using corrosive waters, calcining eggshells, extracting oils, all without profit, as he says, really highlights the practical difficulty.
Which probably led to skepticism.
Naturally. Atwood points out that people tend to doubt what they haven't seen or don't understand themselves. But interestingly, even figures like Lord Bacon and Sir Isaac Newton, giants of science, didn't totally dismiss the possibility of the philosopher's stone.
Really? Newton?
Yeah. Despite their own lack of success in achieving it, they sort of left the door open, theoretically.
So even they didn't just write it off. Okay, what about that obscure language? All the symbols and metaphors, was that on purpose?
It seems very likely, yeah. Deliberate obscurity. Atwood highlights the metaphors, the symbolism, the enigmas.
Why? To hide it.
Maybe partly, but also maybe as a test, to test the seeker's ingenuity rather than just handing out instructions. Allegories, mysteries, contradictions, warnings.
That's confusing.
It was meant to be. They used Kabbalistic methods, intentionally scattered ideas. It really prevented easy understanding, like the language itself was a filter.
A filter for it.
Maybe pointing towards an inner understanding, not just an intellectual one. You had to decipher it, engage with it deeply.
So it wasn't meant to be a simple recipe book. But amidst all that complexity, were there any, core principles?
Yes, definitely. Atwood points to one often quoted maxim. Si fixum solvas faciasco volare solutum, et volucrem figas facient te vivere tutum, solve coagula fige.
Okay, Latin, what's the translation?
Roughly. Dissolve the fixed and make the volatile fly, and fix the volatile, and you will make yourself secure.
Solve, coagula, fige, dissolve, coagulate, fix.
Exactly. Think of it as the basic alchemical rhythm. Break something down, make its essence mobile, then stabilize that essence in a new form. Separation, recombination, stabilization.
Okay, that helps. Break it down, build it back better, make it stick.
Pretty much. And tied to this is the Hermetic idea that imperfections aren't fundamental, they're accidental, like water taking on the color of what's around it.
So things can be purified.
That's the idea. Arnold is quoted saying that understanding the conversion of the elements is the key to changing qualities. It's all about transformation.
Right, transformation. So what about the actual matter they were trying to transform? What did they think that was?
The prima materia. It's described really poetically, not like a specific chemical, more like an ever-varying substance of the whole ethereal, watery, earthy general soul, immortal fire.
Immortal fire. Sounds intense.
It references Proteus, the shape-shifting god. The idea is this fundamental, adaptable essence. The mercurial quintessence is key here.
Mercurial quintessence.
Yeah, it's said to produce all sorts of effects without getting messed up internally. Think of how light interacts differently with different things. Then there are stages.
Sages.
It starts as this pure white matter from philosophical contrition, like inner purification. Then emerge the three big principles: salt, sulfur, and mercury.
Salt, sulfur, mercury. We hear those a lot.
They represent the agent, the patient or recipient, and their offspring, the active, the passive, and the result. It echoes Democritus's idea of Pan containing Proteus, evolving properties through a central will.
So it's less about literal salt and sulfur and more about these underlying forces.
Exactly. It's about principles and their interactions, not just physical stuff.
And these principles, they show up differently in different things: minerals, plants, animals.
Precisely. This formal light, this underlying principle, is said to produce gold in minerals, the elixir in plants, with skill, of course, and something profound, a mystery of universal being in animals, especially humans.
So the potential is highest in humans.
That's the idea. The underlying material is one, but the form in humans is seen as divine and more potent, like an embryo of potential meant to unfold into universal intelligence.
Well, okay. Now the Golden Treatise gets special attention in the text. What are the key takeaways from that one?
Atwood really focuses on a few things. First, Hermes claims his knowledge wasn't just theory, it came from divine inspiration after long experimentation.
Experience plus insight.
Right. Then there's the crucial role of the ferment. This is what supposedly whitens the mixture, stops it burning, holds the tincture or essence, and joins the different parts. It's called the key of the philosophers.
The key. Sounds important.
Very. And Hermes warns strongly against carelessness or getting the ideas wrong, saying it can totally ruin the whole process. Symbolism is huge, too.
Like what?
The vulture is interpreted as the newborn spirit, the essence. The mountain is the furnace. The vulture and the crow represent different states of the spirit of life, active versus passive, maybe?
Vulture and crow.
Yeah.
Definitely not literal chemistry.
Not at all. Blackness means putrefaction, the breakdown stage. Clarity or daylight means resurrection, the rebirth. It's all very symbolic language.
Okay. What else from the Golden Treatise?
The idea of spirit moving without wings, carried by the fixed part. Bitterness signifies the death of the old state. A viscous humidity that radically dissolves metals.
Viscous humidity. Interesting phrase.
And importantly, the need for friendship, gratitude, and reciprocity when working with the matter. The Hermetic artifice, it says, can't be done alone.
Collaboration? Or something deeper?
Possibly both. Hermes also alludes to the spirit showing up in nature and this hidden luminous principle of vitalization called sulfur. And he divides the matter into four parts, like a hen's egg.
The egg analogy again. That's helpful.
It is. And he forcefully argues that humans are made from the arising quintessence of the universal nature, urging self-investigation to understand this. Look within.
Look within. A recurring theme.
Absolutely. Bowtree is identified as the stone itself, the goal, and the red root is linked to terms like terra adamica or magnesia or salt, the foundational substance.
And this idea of death comes up again.
Yes, the necessary death of nature's sort of self-centered aspect to allow the universal being to emerge. Democritus's idea of drawing the fixed brass out bodily is used as an example.
And modern observations confirm this.
Atwood mentions a modern experimentalist observing the masculine tincture rise from death to unite with the white virginal spirit as the great arcanum. So yeah, this death and rebirth pattern is central.
It really does seem fundamental to their whole worldview.
It is. Alchemy is framed as facilitating an artificial dissolution, a controlled breakdown, to let the core principle reemerge, enhanced.
And the gold they talk about isn't just metal.
No, the gold of the philosophers, or living gold, is described as this luminous substance that can actually fructify, reproduce itself, unlike dead metal. It's compared to the sun-perfecting nature.
Living gold.
And it connects back to humans being reformed in God's image, finding that central salt of nature within through wisdom. Agrippa's idea of the soul detaching from senses to connect with the divine fits here, too.
It's deeply internal, deeply spiritual.
Exactly. Man's symbolic links to everything matter. Elements, plants, animals, heavens, angels, God are detailed. Working with the vital spirit involves cycles of dissolution and renewal.
Getting stronger each time.
Yeah, the resulting powder, white or red, supposedly gets more potent with each digestion. This gold has a magnetical virtue, drawing divine energy. Art enhances nature's light.
Okay. And specific substances are mentioned, like antimony.
Basil Valentine's point is highlighted. The true tincture of antimony comes from the true mineral, not just crude melted stuff. Extracting that essence is a key secret.
Secrets within secrets.
Pretty much. Boehm's vision is mentioned too, adepts emerging as true healers for body and soul once the mechanics of the three principles are grasped. But this knowledge is protected.
Protected how?
By the seal of God, apparently. Concealed if misuse is likely. Yet, paradoxically, the work itself is described as easy and simple, alongside being profoundly wise.
Easy and profound, that's a contradiction.
Or a paradox central to the mystery, perhaps, which leads to the point about where to look.
Inward, right, not just externally.
Exactly. Atwood stresses that the texts mislead those seeking perfection outside themselves. The key is inner transformation. Understanding the world is possible because we contain a microcosm, God's image.
Okay. Then she critiques interpretations of the ancient mysteries.
Yeah, she suggests many scholars miss the point, focusing on politics or astronomy or agriculture instead of the real wisdom. Even philosophical analyses often dismiss the rites as just ceremonies, lacking real power.
But the alchemists saw them differently.
The contrasting view presented is that the mysteries, the initia, were the start of a life of reason and virtue, leading to a better life and hope for immortality. Thinkers like Cicero agreed.
So they were truly transformative experiences.
That's the idea. Alchemists saw vulgar matter as defiled, needing purification solutions, calcinations to become the pure, agile, intelligent mercury of the philosophers.
Like refining the raw material.
Exactly. Albertus Magnus says the first rule is perfect solution, washing the occult arcanum. And Virgil's quote about the easy descent to Avernus.
But the hard part is getting back up.
Superasque evader ad auras. To ascend back to the upper air. That's the work, the labor. It highlights the difficulty of the return path to wisdom.
It sounds like a serious commitment.
Definitely. The main requirement for the mysteries, it's argued, was a purely rational will, strong enough to resist temptation and reach wisdom. Think Aeneas needing the golden bow.
The golden bow. Another symbol.
Right. Lully's idea is mentioned. Chaotic forms are first principles because the seed of spirit is found in the purified extreme of life. Vaughan calls this the rock in the wilderness.
And Plato's comparison to Glaucus.
Illustrates humanity's divine spark being kind of crusted over, deformed, like Synesius's viscous soul needs cleaning up.
Then there's that cryptic initiation account.
From Epidaurus, yeah. Approaching death, traveling through elements, seeing the sun at midnight, nearing gods. It emphasizes that even after hearing, you need a kind of ignorance, an openness beyond mere intellect.
Sounds incredibly intense, not just watching a play.
No. The initiated experienced blessed visions resident in a pure light, not just stage effects. They were seen as joined with the deity, filled with divine essence through a kind of balanced circulation in their ether.
Ether, like a subtle medium.
Seems so. Proclus talks about quiet visions unfolding supernally. Iamblichus sees divinity emitting true illuminations. The soul, turning inward, evolves its essence, its vivific reasons.
Finding the divine within.
Exactly. Deeper exploration leads to understanding the genus of the gods within. Theurgic rites were thought to awaken this inner potential through the passive ether, bringing forth intellect and nature with light wisdom as a guide.
So rituals could actively help this awakening.
That was the belief. Porphyry saw it as lower powers obeying reason. But union with the one wasn't just reason. It was a self-oblivious amplitude of conception, total immersion.
Young thought.
Plotinus describes the one bringing its own universe all clear, light meeting light, harmonious motion, where mover and moved are one. Thinking, understanding, and the understood become co-eternal. Intellect is their substance.
Did the mysteries facilitate this directly?
That's the question posed, but the knowledge was guarded. You couldn't divulge it to the uninitiated, they wouldn't get it, and it could be dangerous for the unprepared.
Makes sense. But the descriptions sound compelling.
They are. From Greek, Alexandrian Platonists, medieval mystics, descriptions of divine hypostasis, the soul's final union. Atwood defends the original purity of the rites, despite later issues, citing support from early Christians and wise non-Christians.
So not just trickery.
The decorum inside, the strict rules outside. It suggests something more profound than mere machination, given the consistency of these immortal fables and glowing descriptions.
It really paints a picture of a serious, deep spiritual path. How does Atwood then connect this search for inner wisdom directly back to the alchemical process itself?
She uses Job's analogy, seeking wisdom is like mining for silver and gold. It's hidden, hard to find. God alone knows the way.
So it requires effort, searching.
And according to Basil, the contemplation that leads to purification is celestial, understood by spiritual reason. You need to grasp how nature can be helped and perfected
Helped by.
by us through the art, but natural reason alone isn't enough for the philosophic work. It's like an iron key that can unlock the door, but you need more to access the golden treasury of light.
You need spiritual intellect.
Yes. Gaining self-knowledge, it analyzes and revolutionizes life with its fiery essence. The discovery is hard because it's hidden within. The philosopher's job is to set that wisdom free.
Liberate the inner wisdom.
Right. When reason gets the upper hand over folly, fantasy, passion, it gathers everything into its higher light. Atwood argues for the physical efficacy of reason, too. Look how it analyzes, judges, governs passions, finds truth in everyday life.
So reason isn't just abstract thought.
No, the intellectual sun is archetypal. It separates false forms, assimilates lower life, infuses the now passive spirit with itself, preparing both the agent, the spiritual seeker, and the patient, the matter, inner or outer, is crucial.
Like attracts like.
From the Smaragdine table, yeah. Natures that are alike must be joined. The goal is bettering the supernatural within, changing from corporeal to spiritual.
And this connects to death and rebirth again.
The Theosophist sees the art starting with death and contrition, leading to new life, the pure quintessence, Mercury elixir. But it needs divine light to become the true living gold.
It's a constant cycle.
It is. The masters cry to nature as the magnanimous creatrix containing all, with the stone coming with light then producing darkness, the mother of all. It's all part of this cycle.
And making the gold useful involves
joining its metaphysical body with a related spirit, circulating them until conception. Agrippa's two serpents allegory and the phoenix journey fit here. The aim is this insoluble, miraculous, transmuting, uniting union. Requires the first unity.
Sounds incredibly complex spiritually.
It is. Understanding is one thing, practice another. It's about the abyssal regeneration of the metaphysical embryo before the senses perceive it.
And the process is difficult, intense.
Oh, yeah. The initial dissolution is the greatest poison. Conflict between contrary wills, nature versus against nature. An intense, consuming fire.
They had names for the stage.
Green lion, typhon, fire drake, or the venomous black toad during the mortification phase. Sendivogius' allegory about sal and sulfur fighting until a river of white milk appears captures that conflict and resolution.
So conflict leads to transformation.
The self-willed part is subdued by the innate spirit's grace, its craft occasionate. Lunar forces Isis, Athena representing self-motion and intelligence play a key role when the solar principle, Osiris divine light, is eclipsed or hidden.
And those names for Typhon.
Seth, Gebo. They signify restraint, the contrariety suffered by the divine light. Then there are these detailed, almost nurturing instructions from an old text.
About the young child.
Yes. Removing impurities, making a bed, drying it carefully, then feeding it lion's sweat. Imbibition, a key secret. It's all about careful nurturing.
Like raising something delicate.
Exactly. Don't over-moisten, don't over-dry. Find the mean. Cycles of imbibing, drying, sealing. It's methodical.
And the imagery continues. Fountain, dew.
The crystal fountain, may dew, represent vital processes leading to perfect gold. Eve, loved by Adam union. The hidden immortal soul in Saturn, the base state, needs freeing to release a shining vapor, our moon and sparkling firmament.
So the first matter arises from liberation.
Emancipation of the faunal source. Diana, a refulgent light. She represents the wholeness of fundamental nature, linking all elements. Helvetius describes this light as brighter than sun, gold, moon.
Brighter than the sun, wow.
And the abyss of the spoagiric artifice is where all those myths, salamander, river Pactolus, Apollo, are understood through this lens of art making nature reveal itself.
And the water.
Sendivogius calls the water of our sea the water of life. Irenaeus describes it as an unctuous mineral vapor. Bodies turn into this vapor that is the stone, known in the Book of Life.
This sounds very mystical, connected to the mysteries again.
Yes, this matter initially appears in demoniacal forms until the eye of mind meets its source. It makes you ask, aren't we such stuff as dreams are made of? But the discovery, Atwood asserts, is no dream.
It's the real deal, according to them.
This is the true Hermetic material, celebrated by disciples, recommended by Orpheus, the power behind figures like Chiron, Silenus, the foundation of Pan and the liberated will.
Okay, so this one thing, this core substance or principle, Where does it ultimately come from?
The philosophers trace it back to wisdom, sapientia, allied with medial life and light, referencing Royslin and Kabbalah.
Kabbalah. How does that fit?
The concept of a nothingness from our perspective. The absolute essence retracted in darkness, which then manifests as light. Dark Aleph becomes light Aleph,
God creating something from nothing.
which is the one thing containing all. The identity achieved in regeneration. It's the first divine manifestation the Spirit brought forth, showing universal properties.
And this is the tincture.
Atwood quotes an author describing a water-like substance in celestial light, not water, but a spirit, a property called tincture. Source of the material world, cause of growth in everything, metals, stones, gold.
What are its characteristics?
Virgin nature doesn't generate itself but impregnates all things. Hidden and manifest, friend of God. Fleeting if misused but always abiding with life. Near yet hard to grasp. Meets those who seek rightly.
Powerless alone.
Yes, needs to work with something. Resides in ether when it leaves a thing. Friend of God implies it doesn't work of itself. Imperceptible, yet can be overpowered. Especially potent in metals can make gold multiply quantity.
Connected to thought.
Subtlety of human thoughts arise from it. All things arise through divine imagination. Atwood then shares that personal vision again.
Where she understood it all.
Saw the being of beings, the Trinity, world origins, the three interconnected worlds, came not from books, but from a book opened within. The noble similitude, the image of God, containing eternity's principles.
A profound inner revelation. How does this view stack up against other philosophies, like Aristotle's?
Atwood seems critical of predecessors, suggesting misinterpretations. She notes Aristotle claimed superiority in harmonizing views, but his method differed, even if conclusions were sometimes similar.
What was Aristotle's critique?
He felt earlier thinkers, Pythagoras, Plato, etc., weren't always clear or consistent with their principles. Atwood suggests the ancients' ideas about numbers as causes or deriving gods had a deeper meaning than we grasp now.
Like Pythagoras' sacrifice, or Thales' circle.
Proposed as symbolic acts, representing the discovery of the miraculous psychical quintessence, the tincture, through sacrificing the old self, the old nature.
So sacrifice is needed for higher knowledge.
Approaching the highest causes requires expiation, purification. Superficial effort isn't enough. Being refers to the interconnectedness of everything, creating sympathy. But our normal consciousness is cut off from this deeper essentiality.
Leading to a diminished existence.
Yeah. Proclus advises raising oneself to the most united part of nature, its flower, through which it is deity. Assimilate to the one principle.
And Plotinus described experiences of this.
Intense intellectual energy leading to seeing amazing beauty, a state better than just animal life. Becoming one with divine nature, reaching transcendent energy.
But still connected to the body.
Yes, the soul's tied to the corporeal, even in its deific state. Experiencing the sensible world actually helps appreciate the intelligible one.
Okay, we're covering so much. What are some final key dynamics of the actual alchemical work that Atwood emphasizes?
She reiterates the marvelous subsistence of the vital principles, even when separated by art. And the need for that threefold secret attraction, repulsion, circulation to be in perfect balance.
Like Kunrath said, seek 3 in 1, 1 in 3.
Exactly. Dissolve, congeal, separate the animated spirit and body. This unfolds a new chaos, the universal nature of a new world, through separation without physical labor. Modum in te, experis internum, you feel an inner motion, weep for joy.
Removing original sin.
Through the fire of divine love and the regeneration of body, soul, spirit, touching and seeing Ezoth, the universal. It's a super sentient union.
Nuptials of mind and universe.
Immentis et universi. Solitary thought unites with the simple understanding of its ether, simultaneous subsistence with power, prefigured by those mythological marriages.
And that phrase, the bridegroom crowneth the bride in the north.
Interpreted as light arising from the crucifixion of the cerebral life in the darkness, north, becoming substantive through divine blessing. Again, solvet coagula, generation follows putrefaction.
Oh.
Incombustible sulfur heats the quicksilver they unite, containing fire, air, water in one earthly vessel, the body, refined in one alembic without tools or common heat using heavenly fire.
So light comes from darkness.
Light manifests in great darkness the contrition of sensible nature in conscience. That's where the power of Christ arises, according to Bowie.
And tincture.
The noble tincture arises from anguish into meekness. It attracts light's virtue, becomes water, the desiring tincture. Both contract into blood. The original is in the blood, fire warmth, that's life. The thin water of life comes from its virtue.
This is the true spirit.
Born of the soul, contains God's image, the divine virgin of wisdom, holds all understanding, unites with God through subtle entry, resigning its own will.
Sounds like complete surrender.
Roger Bacon stressed the need for a sanctified mind, purified soul, to attain immortal essentiality, become one spirit with God. Then you understand the work, open the divine treasure.
It keeps coming back to inner purity.
Always. Referencing chaos, me chaos antiqui, stirred by Erebus's breath, bringing forth Hyle and Eros, source of all. The universe before manifestation mingled and form stirred by the breath of the tremendous spirit.
What's the advice then?
Intrinsic contemplation of this wonderful nature. Believe in and nurture even a tiny bit of faith, it guides inquiry. Not blind faith, but liberty of thought, glancing beyond the obvious into life's probability.
And the sincere seeker won't be deceived.
Whether seeking gold, science, health, or higher purity and wisdom, the percipient right believer will find their way.
So this one thing, this core idea, it shows up in myths too.
Absolutely. The symbolic tradition of the one thing regenerated appears all through Gentile mythology, archaic mysteries, gods dying and reviving, Cadmilus, Adis, Adonis, Osiris.
That's the Bacchus myth.
His heart saved in ether, Dionysus reborn, preserving the vital essence. That's the key idea.
And the water the adepts talk so much about.
It's the miraculous product of the mind's spiritual poles in sublime conjunction. Has many names. Still Aurorus, dewdrop, like Virginis, virgin's milk, elixir, aquavitae, water of life, azoth, prima materia, lapis stone, rebus, two-thing.
So it's this regenerated essence made manifest.
Visible, tangible, sensible, local, finite. Made manifest for infinite benefits. Described as the freshest water never consumed. Lux umbra carens, light without shadow, water most orient, water of crude mercury.
But there are dangers, warnings.
Yes, warnings against mammon, the lure of temporal utility leading away from the fulfillment of light. Those who willfully deny the divine use the spirit for private ends. They suffer consequences, filled with an inferior power.
Like the prophet's condemnation.
Exactly. Geber mentions those who rationally seek the science but fear the necessary self-abandonment. The Arabian magician needing a stolen boy for wicked purposes illustrates the misuse.
So intention is crucial.
Rectitude of intention and God's blessing on experience are required. Dangers exist for the ill-informed, but the legitimate path, guided by reason, is progressive.
Avarice won't find it.
No. Avarice, ambition, curiosity, they won't find the true form of gold. Only reason can. Mammon can't quicken the horrific seed, only steal from it, fleeing wisdom's test.
What about prayer? Invoking divine aid.
Defend it strongly. Iamblichus's 3 classes of prayer. Collective for illumination, affecting bonds between spirits. The final seal of union for divine fire. Supplication needed before and during the process.
Essential for success.
No sacred operation succeeds without prayer. Continual prayer nourishes intellect, capacitates the soul, especially powerful when addressed within the living temple, from the divine light within, in the congress of allied minds dissolving life to love.
Prayer and self-sacrifice support each other.
Mutually corroborate, extending even matter towards the good.
Okay, what about the practical tools? The philosophic vessel.
Descriptions are complex. Norton's ordinal is suggested for guidance. Diverse intents need diverse instruments. Vessels for division, humectation, circulation, etc., made of various materials.
Any advice on preparation?
Avoid haste. Allow centers and circumferences to align. Think Oedipus and the Sphinx, or Alcides' emblem Festina Lente. Make haste slowly. Slow, gentle, continuous trituration, grinding of the subject.
Theory versus practice.
Theory provides foundation, but working theory comes from practice and rational inquisition of the light within. Hermetic art is born more from involved thought than natural intelligence. Ab actionibus persidit speculatio.
Is the gross work dangerous?
Perilous, prone to failure for all, says Anaxagoras. Need experience, consider circumstances, use uniform vessels, avoid mixing things improperly. With proper practice, the doctrine suffices.
And the role of will and intellect again.
When will is conciliated, wisdom fulfills it. Deeds and discourses help assent. Will is the greatest power of purgation. The efficacious returns to its proper efficient.
Chiron the centaur comes up.
As the educator of heroic fire, intellect, taming its virtue, rectifying the armed magnet, the directed will. Intellect rides through the sensual monarchy, guided by ether's beacon, until consciousness transcends in revolutionary light. Center meets center.
And separation before reconciliation.
Crucial. Perform each work apart, then reconcile them to master the art. Leads to control over nature's works and treasures.
What about the ternary and quaternary?
Urges meditation. Reduce the ternary, body, soul, spirit, by the quaternary elements, rejecting the binary duality to reach the monad unity. Unite chaos's principles to a new life, regenerated by water and spirit.
This regeneration is present everywhere.
In all things, with the seed of regeneration, says Trismegistus, patient work, but not manual, done by an invisible artist, God's spirit incubating secretly. Like mother and child, the two former principles do everything.
Spirit uses water to purify.
Purges and washes the body to a celestial constitution, connected to Christ's incarnation, uniting the quaternarius to the eternal unity ternarius, forming the septenary Sebaoth rest. Salvation is transmutation.
The true metempsychosis.
Transmigrating human identity from animal existence through ethereal elements to reason's supremacy, emanating a truthful, godlike fourth form.
So, to sum up the Hermetic Mystery.
The ultimate object, subtle analysis and pure synthesis of vital agencies to find the word of life.
And the Emerald Tablet is the key summary.
A summary instruction. Core axioms. That which is above is as that which is below. Interconnectedness for the miracles of the one thing.
It details the roles of sun, moon, wind, earth.
Sun, father; moon, mother; wind, carried in belly; earth, nurse. It describes ascending from earth to heaven, descending, gaining strength from superiors and inferiors.
Elating
Glory of the whole world, obscurity fleeing. Its strength overcomes all things. Involved in the world's creation through wonderful adaptations, hence thrice great Hermes.
And the personal testimony. Seeing transmutation.
Witnessing a tiny amount of red medicine turn a large quantity to gold. Exceeding belief, showing the art's potential, countering fears of its uselessness.
And this tincture, the agent, it's universal.
Transformed itself, works for diverse natures, equates itself to all things. Kunrath, universal medium of restoration, preservation, expels suffering, mind-body, rectifies metals, vegetables, animals.
Towers seem limitless.
Reduces bodies to first matter, reanimates with universal form, advances crystals, concretizes pearls, makes metals gems, fluid and potable, frees animals from disease, refreshes plants, revives the near dead, burns perpetually with specific essences.
Expels evil spirits too.
Nature abhors asymmetry, apparently, ennobles healing, draws down memory prudence, excites joy fortitude, miraculously efficient in all natural production, obeyed by sublunary spirits.
Sounds like the ultimate medicine. Who can administer it? The true physician.
Chiron, sire of pharmacy, taught Achilles. Divine honors for a healer like Hercules, Aesculapius, father preserver of health, curer of griefs, prince of divine knowledge, Solomon. Honor the physician created by the Lord.
Helmund's view.
A physician chosen by God, guided by compassion, possessing truth knowledge, enlightened by charity mercy, not motivated by gain. Blessed by the Lord.
Contrasted with the decline.
Arrogance, sloth, ambition, greed lead to loss of charity, mercy, art, increase of calamities. Who is competent? Those prepared by the Spirit. Prudence, holiness, truth, the key of David.
But knowing God's counsel is hard.
Solomon points out the difficulty. Mortal thoughts limited by the corruptible body. Wisdom preserves the righteous. Delivers those who attend her, prospers their works, cites biblical examples.
What about pursuing eternal advantages versus temporal ones?
Notes the current eagerness for temporal utility, but also a deep sense of its insufficiency. Despite the prevailing idol, hope lingers for truer attractions within conscience.
Pursuing higher objects purifies the mind.
And corroborates it, leads to harmony and beauty.
There's a warning from Deuteronomy.
About the good land, rich resources, warns against forgetting God when prosperous, attributing wealth to personal power. Remember, God gives wealth, establishes covenants. Forgetting leads to perishing.
And the path to union involves self-renunciation.
Immortality consummated in union with divine will, abandoning dual selfhood, like Jacob's repentance. The path of wise men, prophets. Discipline, ordeal, humiliation to conform to divine perfection.
The final step.
Transcending separable selfhood to universal accord through faith, to go forth and to return.
So, wrapping up, can alchemy be real? Despite prejudice, failed chemists.
Is there a subtle nature pervading all, alterable by art? Does man have a special prerogative to interact with it? These are the core questions posed.
What about things beyond our thought being irrelevant?
Argument against that. Unexpected benefits are still real. Promises shouldn't be dismissed just because the means are unclear. Life has evils. A prospect of escape or improvement has value.
Ancient wisdom transcends reason.
Transcends but doesn't contradict it, forms the basis of their philosophy. Faith remains common ground, a witness to reality beyond current experience.
And human instinct believes in latent power.
Despite metaphysics reducing cause to mere antecedents, striking upon this faith, considering transcendental experience, can awaken imagination, stir reason to seek genuine reminiscence in its root of light.
What about the law of will?
Will, in higher states, moves from its own center, evolves into will-being, will as substance, universal lodestone. This efflux is chaotic, needs external intelligence to become creative, immortalized under its law.
The work's aim is to reverse the natural order.
Raise fallen man through medial celestial life to be receptive of the divine. Don't aspire to the highest creative will prematurely. What's nothing in fool's hands becomes all. For a philosopher depends on willing intention.
Finding the principium is hard.
The intention, the pure, aurific seed of light hidden in this life, that's the challenge.
Mind speaks into ether, creates qualities.
Yes, into pure ether, linked to supersensual life, not mundane ether, false forms. True body is will, salt, the body's principle. Beeman's forms describe spiritual emotions becoming qualitative. Universal must be developed within to understand the universal.
Divine light is hidden.
In self-begotten life, which often appropriates rather than serves divine life. Lowest life seen introspectively is a dark vapor, Augean stable. Saturn, self-will, overcome by satiation with the honey of the bees, rational light.
True adepts had true knowledge.
And its fruits. Ordinary men touched the surface. Many alchemists saw only theoretically. Some entered medial paradisical life, inferred the higher. Salt, voluntary substance, needs translation from lowest to medial life, like Troy.
Transplanted salt becomes light.
Grows, ferments the surrounding spirit, moves it to contrition.
And the phoenix.
Arises from the ashes of the present sensuous spirit, rebirth from the old.
There's an inner war.
Between self-will and universal will. Faculties aligned on either side. Universal will tries to transform them. Solar tincture is aurific light. Physical problem. Make invisible spirit visible via hypostatic multiplication of its shadow image.
Inner principles evolve outward.
But deviated by individual life's obstructions. Kirchberger. No true government, but a theocracy. Needs a coordinate social surface governed by its divine center, which recreates by dissolving the corrupt surface. Perfect law needs intermediate degrees for imperfect community.
Inner versus outer understanding. Bible example.
Outward Bible to inner as letter to spirit. Historical to ontological. St. Paul's letter killeth means the living law is too powerful for man's spirit needs the mediatorial sacrifice for the new spirit. Christian love humility, profound in reconciliation.
Essential light entering chaos.
Light of reason enters vital spirit's chaos, always in flux. Forms vivid images initially, then dissolves them via intellectual scrutiny. Light seeks paternal life through maternal instinct, doves of Venus, conjoining, strengthening for more warfare.
The golden bow needed for Tartarus.
Yes, to pass Tartarus, death of this life, to reach Elysian regions' paternal ends. Propitiation for safe passage.
Rational light is strongest.
Organizes life around its focus when found realized. Constitutes reintegration of being, manifestation of the in-man.
We're drawn to our ideal.
Like a star, real objective attraction magnet.
Seeking depends on the seeker.
What's found depends on how one looks. Ontological quality of the seeking faculty determines the finding. Selfish seeking in lower spiritual atmosphere versus higher faculties in pure ether. Divine light region is habitation of high reason informed by love after purification.
Protean life is hard to grasp.
Last subterfuge is transformation into a tree, identical to golden bow. Fantastic forms the ether takes as inquiring spirit enters, shaped by imagination, region of chimeras. Need to destroy these chimeras to reach simple hypostasis radix of reason, ori simplicis ignem.
Ether defined, metals defined.
Ether is universal extended matter divine posit life. Metals of philosophers are ethereal metals, ether's progressive stage processes.
The adept's perspective.
Regards nature inwardly as a whole, feels all in himself.
Soul's essence. Perfection.
Angelic essence is a metallic humidity. Soul imperfection, metalline perfection, Christian philosopher's stone.
Wow. That was an incredibly deep dive into Hermetic philosophy and alchemy, all based on Mary Anne Atwood's work. We've really covered a huge amount of ground.
Definitely. From Hermes himself, through the intricate details of inner transformation, the nature of that one thing, and what this ancient wisdom was really aiming for.
And we definitely hit on some surprising points, that prophecy about Egypt, the sheer variety of people drawn to alchemy, the deliberate obscurity in the texts.
And the profoundly spiritual dimension underpinning it all. That's key.
It really is. And while the language is, well, often symbolic and the ideas can be pretty challenging,
Yeah, it's not exactly light reading.
the main message seems to be this deep human quest to understand reality, our potential for change, both inside and out.
Exactly. That potential for profound transformation.
So for you, our listener, maybe here's a final thought to mull over. Given the alchemist's focus on inner transformation being the key to, well, mastering anything externally, what parts of your own inner landscape, your own inner world, might hold the key to unlocking deeper understanding in whatever field really matters to you?
That's a good question to sit with.
Something to ponder as you continue your own journey of discovery. Thanks so much for taking this deep dive with us today.